Hi, this is your host, Jeff Ragavin, and you're listening to Marketing Mix, where we hear from some of the most influential CMOs of today to discuss the strategies of tomorrow. Welcome to Marketing Mix. Excited to have Jackson Jeyanayagam with me today. Jackson, awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. And credit to you, man. You just nailed my last name on the first try. So that's impressive.
Awesome. Well, I was studying it for like hours. So, Jackson, you have an amazing background. We met most recently when you were the CMO at Boxed. You come from not only the brand world prior to Boxed at Chipotle, but you were on the agency world and working with some incredible brands throughout your career. And now you've literally moved from New York. You're down in DC, and you just got a brand new job working as a GM at a direct-to-consumer brand at Clorox. So, would love for you to talk to us about what you're doing.
Yeah. So first off, thank you again for having me. Pleasure to be here. I am very excited. It's very different and very similar to what I've done before. So my new role as of January of this year is at Clorox, running D2C right now for a lot of their Nutranex brand. Nutranex is a vitamin supplements company that they acquired about a year ago, based in Florida and DC. And part of my role is within that Nutranex company. There's a good amount of retail D2C, direct to consumer brands that just haven't been growing at the rate they'd like it to, and they brought me in to kind of rejuvenate growth, think about everything from supply chain, R&D, innovation, tech stack, obviously analytics, and of course marketing, and really run that business and drive the P&L forward and in continued growth, and kind of secondarily. And hopefully quickly serve as a center of excellence for all direct-to-consumer at Clorox. So really use this as the guinea pig, so to speak, to kind of figure out, okay, what's working, what's not, get the flywheel going, and then expand and scale that to support best-in-class D2C for Clorox. So it's really exciting for me to go from a marketing role where I was a cost center, in my whole life, to really running and learning a P&L and getting trained to be, a CEO essentially now and again in the future.
Do you think the transition from, let's just say, CMO to CEO is an exception to the rule, or do you see this as almost like an emerging trend for a lot of CMOs?
I do think it is. And I think part of it is because of there's just a shift in general accountability for marketing and how people think about spending post-recession, more accountability for marketing to say, hey, if you spend $1 million or $1, your CEO, your board wants to know the return on that versus like, oh, we got some lift in awareness, we got some lift in consideration, but we don't really know. I think the other piece to that is why that's changing is because of e-commerce. E-commerce by nature is performance marketing. It used to be, if you were a direct response marketer, that was kind of a shameful thing, right? You didn't want to admit to anyone you were direct response marketing. Now it's become all the rage in good and bad ways, where I think e-commerce and D2C have really, starting with Amazon, but then going well beyond that, have made marketers think differently. And I'll tell you, the biggest searches I get from recruiters is always that unicorn, they call it, half brand, half performance. And I think that's now turned into, well, if you know the numbers that well and you know the impact on revenue as a marketer, then that extends into like maybe you could also run a business unit. You can think about how this proliferates through all the functions because you're acutely aware of the numbers, not just top line, but even gross margin and profitability. So yeah, I actually think this is happening more and more. And I think you're seeing more marketers from the large Fortune 100 companies to upstart startups and e-commerce companies where the marketers are turning into expanded roles of president, GM, or they're a CMO and they're just taking on more that has to do with running a business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely seeing this like all over the place. Michelle Buck transitioned, from CMO to CEO at Hershey's, and I think Jeff Jones, he transitioned from CMO to CEO at Target, right? So there's like this is happening. So in your mind, you've been on the CMO side, right? What do you think? Like, I know you're an awesome marketer, and a lot of people have also talked to me about you, which is how we met originally. But what do you think is that unique quality, that makes a CMO a really great leader?
Yeah, I mean, first, thank you for the compliment. I tend to be hard on myself, so I don't think
You're the man. Come on.
well, thank you. I know there's a lot of room for improvement, and I always try to surround myself by people who are smarter and better in their function. And that kind of, and I genuinely believe that. And I believe in people. I believe in servant leadership. I'm big on John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. So to answer your question, actually, that's one big piece of it. And I think this goes for any leader, but maybe more so for CMO for many reasons, because unlike other functions under a CMO, there's a lot of functions, right? You could have creative, you could have brand, you could have media, you could have performance, you could have content separate from creative, you could have analytics, you could have product, even, right? I've seen some cases where even HR, I think I just saw a CMO at a brand take on HR function. I want to say might be the Twitter CMO. So my point being is, as a CMO, you need to be okay with not knowing everything. No longer the days of the madman world where it's like, I know everything, I can't be wrong, even if I'm completely BSing this right now. I think it's the opposite, where you're seeing vulnerable leadership, you're seeing empathy, you're seeing curiosity, you're seeing, hey, I know this, but I'm also learning this. So let me bring in people who know this and let me listen to them. At the end of the day, you have to make the final decision on whatever it is as a CMO generally. But I think that's one of the biggest trends for any leaders, but in particular as a CMO, given all those disparate functions, you can't know it all. It's impossible. And this world is changing so fast right now, especially with performance and digital, that anyone who says they're an expert and knows it all, in particular as a CMO, is absolutely bullshitting you. So for me, so yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things, is being open to surrounding yourself by people who are smarter than you, who want your job, who want to go past you. Like, those are the people I want, and taking that to the next level. I always look for three things in people: it's empathy, curiosity, and versatility. And I think your CMO needs to exude all of those, and then some.
I love it. So, two quick questions for you. I think one, now that you're over at a completely different brand and in a completely different role, how do you look into, let's just say, Clorox, your new company? How do you want them to evolve? That's the first part. And then, you're coming from the marketing world. You also had, you're very deep in the agency world. So you have this really great viewpoint across, brand side and agency side. Are there any specific learnings that you've done in all of your roles that you want to actually bring over and implement today at Clorox?
Yeah. So great questions. I think for the first part, I'm lucky. My boss, and I'm not just saying this so he hopes that he hears it, but he just kicks ass. The reason I joined him, I wasn't looking to go to a large CPG. He is a
Hmm.
complete disruptor, and I hate that word. It gets tossed around, but he truly is. And he's been at Clorox for 30 plus years, and he
Wow.
changes. Yeah, I know. So that's like the last guy I thought I'd
That's
work for.
amazing.
It really is, man. And when I interviewed him, I had breakfast with him in New York at like 7 a.m. And he was like, you could just tell you this fire to challenge everything, challenge status quo, challenge the way Clark's does things. He sits on the executive committee. You can actually see him on the website. And like, he's part of that core leadership team working closely with the COO, the CEO, CMO, and so forth. And he has a voice because of his credibility. And I could see he really wanted to make an impact, and he believes in direct to consumer. He believes in where it's going. He loves the startup mentality, not just because it's a nice thing to say. He truly loves it. I think he also invests on the side. So for me, that was the first point. It's like, okay, if I'm going to go make an impact and make a change at a company, while they're not P&G, they're still very large and they've been around for a long time. I need someone like that who I can kind of rely on, who can open doors for me. So when I got there, I realized, wow, there's a huge opportunity to really help everyone think about what does e-commerce, in particular D2C, mean for Clorox. And for me, it's first party data. And even you could even dissect, what is first party data? Is it PII? Is it event tracking? Is it, micro targeting certain people, certain cohorts, and really understanding what they're doing online and predicting against that, optimizing against that, and so forth. And I think it is. And I think those layers of like, what is first party data, even why is it important? What exactly does it entail, and how do we use it, are all things that are kind of unanswered for most CPGs and non-retailers, and non-digital retailers in particular. So for me, that's what I want to do, is shift. Like, don't worry about if we sell a vitamin, if we sell bleach, if we sell trash bags, if we sell Burt's Bees product. It doesn't really matter. It's about optimizing that flywheel of D2C and what that power is when Amazon's done so well, and then leveraging those learnings for all channels, brick and mortar, e-commerce, and owned D2C. So for me, that's the real role, and I need someone like my boss to do that, and that's why I took this role, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Now, the new company that you're working at now in Clorox, right? So Nutranex, where are people buying it? Is it in the store? Is it online? Are you shifting some of your efforts more towards e-com? Like, how do you think about this from a strategy, perspective of getting a consumer to purchase?
Yeah, great question. So the majority of the Nutrix brands are in retail. They're well-known brands, actually. Rainbow Light, Neocell, Natural Vitality, brands you probably know really well. And you can buy them at Target or Walmart, Amazon. And they do a little bit on direct-to-consumer. The brands I took over initially is one that's targeted at boomers, actually, called Stop Aging Now, which is a good brand. It's got some good growth, but there's a lot of opportunities to improve the product experience, and the go-to-market strategy and how we think about e-commerce there. And then we're also relaunching or launching a new brand targeted at kind of a Gen X audience in the fall, which is going to be a very different look and feel, a very different vibe. And then the goal is building off of that technology solution, building off that product experience, building off those learnings, then to share those learnings to other Nutrix brands, and then get them moving even faster on direct to consumer. So that's really my priority right now is optimizing Stop Aging Now, launching a new brand, and then thinking about what could be the future. There could be other verticals that we launch. There could be other extensions of current brands, and there's a lot of opportunities there. So, but the majority of actually Nutrix is more physical retail products.
Got it. And now, just a total like random question. You moved from New York to DC.
Last month
How
with
has
the
that been? 'Cause I know a lot of people who made that move, and it was not necessarily an easy transition because it's very different. But like, how did that go?
Yeah, mine's just a little bit more nuanced too, because as I think you know, my wife and I, we had our second daughter, and when I say we, my wife gave birth. I was just there. She did all.
Congrats.
Thank you. She did all the hard work. So we moved after she gave birth, 2 weeks after. So, and that was our second daughter. So she, was the second time going through that. I mean, she was exhausted, as you'd imagine, and just there was a lot of happening in our life. And luckily, we had a lot of help. But we made the decision, and it was her decision. I was like, hey, I can't make the decision. You have to tell me when you want to move. Do we wait a month? Do we wait 2 months? And she was like, no, I'm not paying double rent mortgage. I'm like, okay, fair. So we did it, and it's been about a month and a half. I mean, listen, she's been there 15 years. She went to Columbia for grad school. We met there. I've been there for 12 years in New York. We love New York. That is where our heart is. I mean, that is for many reasons. I was in Portland and Seattle before that. We love it. Nothing compares to New York. That said, it's early, so we haven't really kind of gotten out there and explored, given the baby and just how it is with transition.
Yeah,
So,
working the baby is enough to keep your hands full right there.
oh man, and then our 4-year-old treats our daughter like a stuffed animal sometimes, and she loves her, but I'm just like Sophie, like she's a human being, you can't like drag her like that. Um,
Right.
so we haven't fully explored it. But what I could tell, there's a lot of synergy between DC and New York, even though it's a little bit smaller. And a lot of people do that commute or have that move. So I think it's going to be awesome. We love food, and DC is a foodie city, and it's also very diverse. So that also is kind of it's interesting to us. Our daughter's multi ethnic, both our daughters multi ethnic, obviously. So we want them to be exposed to different people. So we like it so far. It's too early to tell. The transition's been a lot, but we're handling it. My wife's been an amazing trooper as she kind of deals with it. But I would say the biggest thing is a year from now. That'll be the real test. If we've acclimated, our daughter's school friends, their parents will become our friends. That's how that works. So that'll be the real test is a year from now. But our heart will always be in New York. So we try to go back a lot. We have friends and family there. But so far we've enjoyed DC.
Awesome. I know that we have a ton of listeners that are really across the entire spectrum in marketing. We have CMOs, we have people who handle stuff on the agency side, search, social, all that stuff. And I know a lot of people who are listening right now are actually transitioning into completely new brands as marketers, just like you have. So I think it'd be really helpful and awesome for those that are listening. Like, any tips when you're transitioning from one company that's completely different into another company, but in the marketing realm. And any top tips at all?
Wow, I mean that's a tough one. I would say it's my tip for anyone going into any new role is ask lots of questions. I always try to coach people I bring in and try to remind myself like go in being open minded, ask tons of questions, sit down with as many people as you can. In this case, I have about 80 people that report into me, about 50 in the Maryland office. So I sat down with every single one of them in a one-on-one in my first 2 months. And it was time consuming and it was definitely challenging to figure out schedules, but it was important to me to do that. Now, if you had a 300-person org, that might not be realistic. But my point is, I was listening. I wanted to hear them out, hear their perspective on what's working, what's not, where their interests are, where their experience is, where they want to go, and try to align that with where I think we could go versus me coming in and saying, I've done all these things at Chipotle, agency side box. You guys need to fix this, fix that. Because as you and I both know, context is everything. So you could look at something from the outside and you might be right as to why it could be better, but you might not have the full context as to why they did it and what the other pieces are that maybe are irrelevant. But just knowing, one, people want to be heard. That's, I think, human nature. You want to be heard, right? I want to be heard. You want to be heard. But two, taking that feedback might actually change how you go about doing something. So for me, it doesn't matter what role, what function, listening, sitting down with people, understanding the perspective and context of why things have been done before you just start assuming this needs to get fixed. And then after 30, 45, 60 days, then I think you'll be in a better position. You'll have credibility to make decisions and calls while you're continuing to listen and adapt. So for me, I'd say that's the most important thing. And even more so if you're going into a different industry, a different function, a different role, that's critical.
Definitely. Any like major like aha moments in your new role that you were like, wow, I'm very surprised about?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Like, maybe I'll get in trouble for this, but like, I come from even Chipotle. While it was a big, $4 or $5 billion company, they moved like a startup. They were very nimble, still run by the founder. So it was a very different model. It was more similar to agency life than probably most companies that size. And then, of course, Boxed as a startup, right? You can imagine what that was like. Also very similar to agency life. So this is the first time I've been at a company where it's like a lot of process. I had them as agency clients, right? At P&G, Nike,
Mhm.
Nestle, T-Mobile, right? Because I kind of knew how things operated, but that's not the same as Jeff, from the other side.
Yeah.
So when I got here, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of process, there's a lot of layers, there's things that we can definitely refine. Now, the nice thing is I'm kind of operating a startup within Clorox. I kind of get the best of both worlds without having to deal with fundraising and cash flow and really having to worry about, are we going to shut down in 3 months kind of decisions. But, I think the benefit though is more importantly, I'm learning from them and their processes, but they're willing to listen. And again, because of my boss, like he's also open to like, hey, how can we streamline it? How do we change things? How do we say instead of 45 days, could we do this in 5 days because of X, Y, and Z? So that was probably the realization was like, whoa, things are going to move a lot slower. And I saw that in the first couple of weeks with certain approvals and certain things just by nature of the beast. But I've been amazed by how open everyone is to change. I mean, first of all, people are really nice here, and it's not BS. It's they're truly genuinely good people, but they're so open to like, hey, this stuff, we know this stuff. What can we learn from you? How can we do this better? And that's been just such a relief because I was worried I was going to have to bang myself against the head trying to convince people that this shouldn't take 30, 45, 60 days, right? And it hasn't been the case. Everyone's been truly supportive there. So it was a blessing and a curse. I was, yeah, it's definitely longer than I'm used to in terms of waiting for certain things because I like to move fast, but everyone's been so open about that. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. And then secondarily is operating within a company that's been acquired. It's been interesting to see how the integration into Clorox and all the challenges with that. And me coming in as a fresh eyes perspective as a Clorox employee, managing that, that's just been, I wouldn't say it's good or bad. It's just been really interesting to kind of see that integration process.
Awesome. I love it. So, Jackson, we do this show, we call it Marketing Mix for a reason, right? We talk about marketing, we talk about work, and then we mix it in with a little personal stuff. So, today we're doing things a little different that we haven't done on a previous show. And this is, I think, our 33rd episode. And today we're doing something new. It's called Rapid Fire. So, I'm going to ask you just kind of a question, and then you're going to spit out an answer without thinking. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Agency side or brand side?
Brand side.
Favorite commercial?
Oh, I haven't seen a commercial in a long time, so I'm trying to think. um,
That's a hard one for rapid fire. I'll give it to you. You
Yeah,
could
but
think about it.
I got one for you. Puppy Monkey Baby.
Puppy Monkey Baby. I'm
Remember
gonna
that
have to check.
Mountain Dew Code Red commercial 3 years ago? Super Bowl was that stupid song, Puppy Monkey Baby.
Puppy monkey baby. Puppy monkey baby. Puppy monkey baby. Puppy monkey baby. Puppy monkey baby. Puppy monkey baby.
Mountain Dew Kickstart. Dew, juice, caffeine.
All right, I'm gonna have to check it out. Okay, if you had a spirit animal, what would it be?
Panther.
What's your favorite word?
Shit.
What was the last dream that you remember?
I had one 2 days ago where I was in a heated fight with some high school friends, college friends, and friends from my first job, and they all met each other for some reason, and we're debating on going on a road trip somewhere, and we're fighting about where to stop. It was the weirdest, most random thing. It's probably because I love travel, I love colliding worlds, and I think I probably saw something on Facebook that kind of triggered that.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
What's your favorite emoji?
Ooh, it's a balance between there's the guy with the glasses. He's kind of nerdy. I like him,
Uh-huh.
and I like the girl with the shoulder shrug.
Oh yeah, I use that one a lot too.
That's
I
great.
would say for me though, my favorite one is like, the emoji with like the two fingers on the chin, kind of like, what?
Oh,
I
that's
need
a
to
good
think
one
about
too.
that.
Yeah.
That one's really good. And what's your favorite app?
App. Oh man, that dude. I need like a day notice for that one. Shoot. I love Delta. when I'm working, productivity, flying. I mean, it's just a great, easy to use app. But across the board, honestly, like I'm a networking nut, so you would think Instagram would be what I would say, but I actually love LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is just an awesome app, a great experience. I'm on there way more than any other social media channel.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Awesome. Well, listen, this was so great. I'm glad that we were able to like get you on the show. I know things are crazy with the new job and the new move, so we really appreciate it. And
Of course, dude.
always great to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me. Thank you for the kind words and for thinking of me. I know you've had some amazing guests, and your reputation is obviously quite impressive too. So you gave me compliments, but dude, like it's an honor to be on your show, given everything you've done and will continue to do. So thank you.
Awesome. My pleasure.